Welcome to the ITF Pre-Summit Research Day. ITF, together with key research partners, ACTRI, TRB, and WCTRS, has been organizing Pre-Summit Research Day for 4 years now. We will open ITF Annual Summit next week, which is a place where ministers and policymakers from around the world share policy perspectives. But it is extremely important that public policy is based on and informed by rigorous evidence. That is why Pre-Summit Research Day is not designed to exchange ideas only within academic community, but rather to foster better linkages between research and actual policymaking. Bringing research perspective to the summit is the main objective of the Pre-Summit Research Day. The topic of this year is transport innovation for sustainable development. We cannot overlook the effects of COVID-19 pandemic, which has had a profound impact on transport sector. COVID-19 also presents an opportunity to shape more sustainable, resilient, and human-centric mobility. To date, the research community has produced a stunning array of solutions of how governments can leverage innovation for sustainable development. And we are delighted to have researchers from all over the world to share their work and perspectives with us. Today and tomorrow, we will have an opportunity to discuss many different issues with presenters joining from Canada, United States, Europe, Australia, Japan, and New Zealand. We would have liked to welcome you all in Leipzig this year and have this discussion live, but unfortunately, that is not the case. Virtual format, however, has its positive aspects as participants from all over the world can join the discussions in just one click. Many thanks to our key research partners, ACTRI, TRB, WCTRS, whose support and contribution made this event possible. We are very happy to work alongside our research partners, and we are looking forward to working together in the years to come. This year, we are also delighted to have support from the European Commission, who kindly agreed to share their expertise and moderate the sessions. Tomorrow, we'll also have Matthew Baldwin, Deputy Director General of the European Commission's DG Move, sharing his perspectives on the issues that we will discuss here. Finally, many thanks to presenters for submitting high-quality papers and joining us today and tomorrow. I hope you enjoy the discussions, and I'm looking forward to welcoming you at the summit next week.
Thank you very much, Jung-tae, and a very warm welcome to everybody. And I'll give a very short introduction to the agenda for the Research Day and the program of the summit. Both are built around our long-term challenges of mitigating climate change, improving social equality, and achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and with a focus on the potential for innovation to improve outcomes. Now, the high-quality research papers that will be discussed today and tomorrow are a really valuable complement to ITF research on the summit themes. We start with a session today on low-carbon vehicle technologies, and already the first paper will be very useful for the work that ITF is undertaking jointly with the European Commission on difficult to decarbonize transport modes, including heavy trucks. This work will be examined again in 2 weeks today at the summit session, where Jung-tae will be able to carry over the results of today's discussions. Then session 2 today on innovation for rural and remote areas has 3 papers that complement work we published this year on connecting remote communities and work underway on public transport services for the periphery. It will be led by the moderator. The moderator leading that discussion today is also leading the work on public transport for the periphery. On the demand side, the on-demand service angle of that debate will be taken up in a ministerial roundtable next week on mobility as a service. And what we learned today will contribute to the 2 reports that are in preparation on integration of mass into public transport. And then the last session this afternoon on micromobility and active transport is perfectly timed to contribute to a report on regulation of micromobility that we're completing now for publication at the end of June. That work is led by Tatiana Samsonova, who is also the leader of the organization of these summit research days. So you get the picture, how closely integrated the sessions today and tomorrow are with the summit discussions and with ITF's ongoing program of policy research. And then tomorrow we turn to the critical issues of the short and the long-term impacts of COVID-19 on our sector. This session will add to the evidence base for reports that we've had in preparation and inform us in areas that we've not yet addressed in our series of reports on responses to the COVID crisis. Now, the prolonged COVID crisis is going to leave transport operators with severe deficits that will need to be taken over by the government, not least in public transport, if we're to stay the course of decarbonizing transport and making our cities more sustainable and better places to live. At the same time, the crisis has created some unexpected opportunities to greatly accelerate reallocation of space to walking, cycling, and micromobility, advances that will be wise to preserve. And the unprecedented scale of intervention in response to COVID-19 has really opened our eyes to the scale and the pace of reform that we might be able to make in responding to the climate crisis. It's going to be very interesting to hear the views of everyone presenting today and tomorrow on what lessons they take from the COVID crisis for sustainable mobility policy as we move forward. And one last link to make, as Jung-Tae said, Matthew Baldwin's keynote speech tomorrow is something to look forward to, for everybody knows Matthew's dynamism and ability to cut to the heart of what needs to happen to make mobility safe and sustainable in crystal clear terms. Matthew is DG Move's Deputy Director General, and his particular responsibilities cover road safety, sustainable mobility, and smart cities. And Matthew will also be discussing road safety policy imperatives and the UN SDGs in a session with ministers next week. Now, all of these pieces of work and reports that I mentioned will put into the chat once that's active. And it just remains for me to thank in particular our moderators, and especially the 4 from DG Research and DG Move, our strong partners in the European Commission for the research days, starting with Philippe Froissart, Head of Future Urban and Mobility Systems in DG Research, who will moderate our first session on low carbon vehicles. Now, to join the first session in our customized Zoom portal, you need to make 2 clicks. The first on the timeline up in the top left-hand corner of your screen. Now, be careful not to tick on your main browser's page back arrow, which is just above the timeline enable. Click on the timeline, and then once you're back on the timeline in the program, you can click on the next session of the program, and we'll be back online in a few minutes together with the speakers ready to present. Thank you very much.